The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
There is no shortage of strange tales and sinister stories when it comes to the bleak and dreary locations of lighthouses. Maine's infamous Seguin Lighthouse, for instance, a lighthouse keeper allegedly driven to madness by his wife's piano playing, brutally murdered her with an axe before committing suicide. The Pensacola Lighthouse in Florida, it was the lighthouse keeper's wife who murdered her husband, stabbing him to death. Before the advent of automated lighthouses, the men and women who tended these buildings lived in near total isolation for long periods of time, weathering terrifying storms on some of the most inhospitable terrain. Lighthouse keepers had the serious duty of keeping ships and their crews from sailing into dangerous waters. The isolation, coupled with the heavy responsibility, could, it seems, often lead some lighthouse keepers down their very own dark paths of madness, death, and even, sometimes, disappearance. What happened to three men who vanished while attending the lighthouse on a barren island of rock off the west coast of Scotland? What details of their disappearance have kept the mystery alive for so long? This case file, the theorists slip into their slickers and boots to take a look at the Flannan Isle mystery.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing, Case File 141, Flannan Isle. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew.
This case file tonight is requested by probably our biggest kiss-ass fan. He just bugs me all the time. He send me text messages. Wait, please do this one. Wait, please. Wait, can you please do this? His name's Colin. I call him the Big Mac McMacleod. Big Mac because that's all he eats. Colin the Big Mac McMacleod. He requested this case file.
Is it MacLeod or McLeod?
No, it's McMacleod.
Okay.
Like MC.
Is this the guy from Grizzfest?
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, huge beauty.
Yeah. Huge guy. He's like 300 pounds.
Exactly.
Anyways, he really wanted this. He's a good buddy of mine. Really wanted us to talk about Flannan Isle. So I finally was like, after 1,000 text messages he sent me, I was like, okay, all right, I get it. Sure. I had to block him. So this one's for you, Colin.
After you said you do it?
It actually got a little crazy. I blocked him on text and he started snapping me nonstop. I was like, Colin, man, like, take it easy. Like,
Stalker.
You're a friend and a fan, but you're crossing a line here, buddy. So it was a little much. So Colin, if you're hearing this, tone it down a little. It's a little creepy.
Colin.
Classic Colin.
Classic
Yeah.
Colin.
Yeah. So why don't we start off with a little space news?
Got it that time.
We got lots of messages last week about NASA finding a parallel universe where time runs backwards. And I was like, that's perfect for us because you can listen to either galaxy or either parallel universe. Our podcast is shitty from start to finish either way. Exactly the same. Doesn't get any better.
Back and forth doesn't get any better or worse.
Yeah, it's the exact same. So, but that turned out to be fake.
Not necessarily fake, just wildly blown out of proportion, it seemed. They went from suggested because this one part in, in Antarctica was like admitting they said in the article antimatter rays outwards from the Earth or something, and then the media got a hold of it and it ran to must be a parallel dimension running back like the opposite way from the Big Bang, and everyone's like, well, I don't know if we take it that far, but anyways, that was one of the biggest viral science headlines in a while. Turns out maybe not quite parallel. Can't confirm nor deny. Let's leave it at that.
There'd be a time where you could meet yourself at the exact same time, like at the point.
And then the universe would end.
And that'd be it.
Yeah.
Boom.
Hey, like finger guns.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now,
you know what? It happens way too often where it's just like scientists will make a suggestion, and I feel bad for scientists because I feel like they never get the luxury to be imaginative because you say something, you're an expert on something, but you also want to, you want to theorize. You want to be like, oh man, like this could mean that possibly there's a universe out there that time runs backwards. And you're not, you just want to be like, you want to believe in something fantastic for just a second. You want to be like, oh, you just want to dream or, like that. But then some reporter overhears you and they just like run with it.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, it could be run backwards. And, if you ask a scientist, like, well, I mean, not really, but
beep, 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 beep. This just in. Universe runs backwards. Scientists just confirmed.
Scientists just invented time machine. And it's like, no.
He's like,
not
what?
really.
What? So yeah, it was big one. Lots of people sent that in to us. This one's exciting. This Wednesday, SpaceX is about to launch 2 astronauts into space in a historic first.
Oh yeah.
To infinity and beyond.
First time in 9 years since the shuttle missions ended for the United States that they are sending a manned spacecraft from American soil.
It's gonna be
They
awesome.
got pretty slick spacesuits too.
Yeah, they look like something like straight out of what's that movie I'm thinking of? Interstellar, yeah, with it has the bubble dome, but it's like much more streamlined than like old school like shuttle suits.
Slimming, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Form-fitting
Speed suits.
speed suits, yeah.
Yeah. I always like to think of like Flanders in a ski suit.
Feel like I'm wearing nothing at all.
You just like to think about Flanders in a ski suit.
I mean, goddamn.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Anyways, it's Falcon 9 rocket with the Crew Dragon. Wednesday, you can catch the live stream. Just you'll search for it. It'll be everywhere.
You just heard it here. Simpsons predicted sexy astronauts.
Yeah.
Flanders.
Great glutes.
And I'm sure if you wait a week and the launch is successful, I mean, launches are hard and they always get canceled for hundreds of different reasons. But if it does happen, you can always just not even watch it live, and we'll probably show a clip of it or something next week.
Yeah. We're recording this 2 days before, so by next recording, we should
ruin next week's space news for yourself.
Yeah, hold off. Just hold off.
Hold off. Engineers tested an impossible detonation engine for the first time, and it works.
That's cool.
So it's not so impossible, is it?
No, it's the possible engine.
It's the probable engine now.
The engineers have built and successfully tested what is known as a rotating detonation engine, which generates thrust via a self-sustaining wave of detonations that travel around a circular channel. Uses less fuel, apparently, so it's going to be far more efficient, but it's still in test phases, but this could really change space travel.
Sounds like a controlled chain reaction. Like almost out of control, but they somehow make it work. Just blowing up in a circle repeatedly.
Constant nuclear explosions, one after another, and you're the astronaut sitting on top of it. So that's fun.
That's what I do.
That's some pretty good space
That's all I
news
have
this
for
week.
space news.
That's
Go ahead.
some epic stuff. Yeah, that's it. That's all we had. That's the main headlines of the week. All right.
All right. To the task at hand. The Flannan Isle mystery.
Great mystery.
Yeah. This one has a little everything. And if it sucks and you don't like it, call Colin McMacleod and Big Mac.
All right, what's his
And,
phone number? Let's so everybody can have
Dude,
it.
you know what's funny?
Tell him to
I'm
give it out.
actually tempted to
Give it
throw it
out.
out.
Let's go.
Because he threw my number to some buddies and they were all drunk and his buddies were messaging me nonstop on the weekend. And I was like, this guy does not know.
Listen, if
You
this
know, what
case
he's
file
messing with you.
if this case file sucks, do not leave a 1-star on iTunes. Call fucking Colin. Leave him a message.
call
Let him know how you
Colin.
feel.
I think we could get like 1,000 voicemails to Colin. 1,000 texts.
Let's fill his mailbox, man. Let's do it.
All right, well,
Stuff that
talk about it.
voicemail.
we'll see
We'll
it
talk
then.
about it.
We'll see the reception, and if it's really hated, I'll post his number on Instagram.
All right, let's head over to the Flannan Isles.
All right.
So the Flannan Isles, if you don't know where they are a collection of islands off the west coast of Scotland, in the northern Atlantic. There is a lighthouse that sits there, and the one that we're going to be talking about specifically is the lighthouse that was built in 1899. That's when it was finished. Now, after they constructed this lighthouse, it was the newest lighthouse in that region. Like this was, I guess you can consider it the top of the line lighthouse. So when they constructed this lighthouse, where they built it is just it's just a fucking piece of rock. Like it's not.
Construction took a long time because
Right,
it was hard to get materials there, and those stees they'd be stormy.
Often.
Right. So I think they planned it out to take 2 years to build it, and it actually took 4.
Jesus.
So it just about doubled their time of actually having to build it.
Must have been a government contract.
So it being top of the line, they had built from the bottom, like of the landing, like where you would drop off supplies, where you drop off people to go up into the lighthouse. You had these concrete tramways which led from the cliffside landings on the east and west side of the islands, and they could basically you would be able to move men and supplies no matter which way that the wind would be blowing onto the island. Where the landings were put were these pretty much just what we would consider like a cutaway into the cliff sides, and they actually had also cranes 20 meters above these North Atlantic stormy surging waters, and you could use the cranes to kind of move supplies up and down the cliffside.
Think about what they're paying these guys back then. Like, yeah, go build
$1 a
a
day.
fucking lighthouse. Go in this crane. It's all good. You know what I mean? We're going to give you your fucking 3 shillings and a loaf of bread. No big deal, man.
The lighthouse actually itself sat at the very top of the island, and it was about 25 meters high. And so that put it about 100 meters above sea level. So again, like I said, this was a brand new lighthouse. So they had what were considered comfortable living quarters for what would be like a full-time crew of 3 men. But you would normally have 3 men, but there would be one that would usually be on shore for 2 weeks to come and relieve one.
Right.
In 1899, how do lighthouses work? Like, is it still like electricity? Like, is it still, or are they like light? Is it like one of the flames of Gondor or whatever they use in Lord of the Rings?
So what they actually used was I forgot, it's a Felsel lens is what it's actually called. Fresnel lens. And if you look it up, like you can pull it up, it's a pretty cool thing. Like you'll recognize it if you see it. You'll be like, oh, okay. Like I think I've seen one of those before, because if you've seen any pretty much movie with a lighthouse, that's what you'll see.
Yeah, I've never. I don't have a subscription to Lighthouse magazine, so I have no idea what you're talking
I'll
about.
send you one for Christmas. Don't worry.
Perfect. Oh, like that.
One of those. It looks like a really fancy piece of art.
Right. Basically, how the Fresnel lens works is it would focus, your flame, your light source, and it would focus it straight out, as opposed to having the light kind of like go out in the regular arc form.
Hey,
It
do
would more-
dentists use little ones of those?
I mean, yeah, kind of.
Kind of probably. Yeah, that
So
that,
dentists
that lens looked the same.
use little lighthouses.
That's what lenses do. They focus.
Oh. So what you're telling me is dentists use little lighthouses to see in my mouth.
See in those
Interesting.
gaping cavities forming.
No cavities, buddy.
Cavity
2
free?
years in a row.
That boy.
No big deal.
Champ.
No big deal.
So normally these lenses would be placed on like a type of like either a rotating thing. Actually, what's interesting is that what they would use as a kind of mount underneath the Fresnel lens to keep it rotating, one of the best materials that they would use was actually they would fill like a channel with mercury, like liquid mercury. And you would turn it like it would be, because that was the best way that was the best way to have like a frictionless kind of turning, and you'd be able to turn it without having to worry about it like
Cool.
breaking down.
Okay, so let's continue on with the mystery now. So if you don't know where this place is, it's like Google Earth has it. You know how in Google Earth, the ocean is usually just blurred out? They've made a tiny effort to show you where this is. So off the west coast, it's called the Flannan Isles. It's a bunch of islands. So this enhancing. If you're watching the live stream, we're zooming in on the Flannan Isles, and the one that the lighthouse is on is called, was it Eileen Moore?
Yeah.
It's this. You can barely see it, but here is Eileen Moore, and the lighthouse is like somewhere right here, but you can barely. It's like the sun.
Like that is in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere.
On just a little rock.
Tiny rock.
That's it.
Lighthouse. You can't fucking see it on the map because it looks like the sun is directly on the island. It's all white, so you can't really see. But you get the picture of tiny island, as Dan said, a west and an east coast. So no matter which way the swells were going, they're usually an opportunity to like at least dock a boat most of the time.
Right. So normally you would have 4 full-time staff assigned to a lighthouse, and they would be rotated ashore 6 weeks on and 2 off. So then you'd have 3 on the island at all times, and then you'd have 1 that would be on the shore that would, then they'd rotate that man out every couple weeks. So this lighthouse on Eileen Moore on Boxing Day, December 26, 1900, about a year after it had been built, almost to the day, the relief boat named the Hesperus brought their, to that point, had the relief keeper, Joseph Moore, and on to come in and take his post at the lighthouse. They noticed that the light in the lighthouse was out.
Which
So
seems
Even before Boxing Day, ships had been going across and expecting to see it as early as like December 15th. And they had been saying like, hey, the lighthouse is out. Like there's no lights on. And this like it's stormy seas right now. It's really bad. It's a bad time of the year. So when they're getting to port, they're saying, hey, the lighthouse isn't working. There's not. And everyone's going, well, there's nothing we can really do. The seas are too rough. So it's not like we can just, we can't call. The only communication was, I think they just flashed lights at each other. It was like Lord of the Rings. They lit
the beacons,
pyres.
So when the Hesperus landed, they went ashore. They found a couple of strange things at first, which kind of signaled that something was definitely wrong. The flag was not flying on the lighthouse, and they also found that usually there would be crates on the landing waiting for them for supplies, which were not there at all.
So I'm guessing what they did is they would like bring their empty boxes and empty crates down. Those would get loaded on the ship. New one, they'd use the crane to haul it up, and nothing's prepped.
Right. Nothing's ready to go. Nothing has been taken care of, or, the normal preparations for, the relief ship coming. None of that had been done. So Moore himself went ashore, and he was, he went to investigate, figure out, what the fuck is going on here? I leave for 2 weeks.
Where the fuck are these guys?
It's probably fucking choked.
So the report that he made became the basis for the entire mystery that you hear that surrounds this incident or this lighthouse. When Moore made it his way up to the lighthouse, he found the lighthouse door was left open. He said that the reported report is to say that there was a meal of salted mutton and boiled potatoes, half eaten, still laid out on the table.
Mutton,
like somebody had just been
what's
eating
mutton
it.
exactly?
What's mutton? Sheep.
Yeah. Sheep, just like sheep
Yeah.
stew.
Sheep meat.
Sheep meat called mutton. All right. So wait, they sent this guy alone off the ship. The relief guy just goes to the island just by himself.
Well, I'm sure there were other like down to the. I mean, you have to imagine. So they probably. I don't know if they actually docked the boat. Like, I don't think they actually docked the ship. Like, you probably sent a ship like to go like a little dinghy.
Yeah, they probably
ashore.
probably sent like a steamship, and then just I was wondering if it was just him though, because imagine being him, knowing like you're going by yourself to an island where these 3 people are probably dead or something really bad has happened. You're just walking up alone.
I mean, it's been 10 days since the first reported out, so like I imagine he's moving with haste because he like. Even if he's not buddies with these guys, like you work together, right? So you like work closely in close proximity. So I mean, there's got to be some level of camaraderie before them. So I imagine like if this was me coming to check on you guys at this lighthouse, one, I'd be like, I don't want to go up there. Like something bad happened. Like you would know right away. Like in your heart of hearts, 10 days of light. Your one fucking job is to keep the lighthouse lit, and it hasn't been lit in 10 days. You're like,
oh
Buddy,
shit!
who are you kidding?
Wrong.
Who are you kidding? If you knew it was us, you'd be like, what the fuck are those guys up to? They're obviously dog fucking so hard that they forgot.
Yeah.
Zell's stoned out of his tree and forgot to light the fucking lighthouse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I dosed everyone. That's what happened by accident. Dropped it in.
But
the
here's my
stew.
question. So is this relief guy, is he coming because of he's scheduled to relieve somebody? Like, are these rotations staggered, or is he coming because something's wrong?
No, he's coming in as the standard relief procedure. I was going to say that the reports about the lighthouse being not functioning, not on, they didn't find that out until later. So Moore didn't know that.
Other ships.
You know, that shit had been wrong for at least 10 days.
So
like,
other ships seen it, but by the time they got back, they had already been left on their journey, so they had no idea. But other ships.
Well, they made the report. But the reports got
by the time they got to them, yeah.
Well, yeah, by the time they got to him, or the reports got caught up in the whole, the research I said, there's a whole bunch of, apparently there's a lot of bureaucracy that goes with running lighthouses. So,
oh yeah, man. I think that's pretty well-known fact that like the lighthouse game, tons of politics.
Yeah,
Hard
if
to
you
get in.
read
It's who
Lighthouse
you, it's who you know, not what
Monthly.
you know is with
They have their own
lighthouses.
magazine. Okay. It says enough right there. So I'm assuming these guys are on staggered rotations then, because there's only one guy coming in to relieve somebody, right?
right. So
Yeah.
it's the lightkeepers are rotated short. Like I said, 6 weeks on and 2 off. And so then you would rotate, they'd come in, next person, 2 weeks off, come back on. Another person would leave, 2 weeks off, and like that. So
yeah, there was half-eaten food left on the table. One of the chairs was knocked over, and we start to get creepier from there.
the clocks were all stopped.
Every
right?
single clock in the lighthouse was not working. Stop.
Right. All the clocks had stopped. They said 2 of the keepers waterproof oilskins. So their oilskins are just,
The rain
slickers.
gear. Yeah.
Rain gear, we're missing.
It's kinda
But
like
the
the-
third
Are those like
one.
the things? Are those like the things like the killer wears in I Know What You Did Last Summer?
No. It's exactly like, you
Yeah.
want to picture it? Think about Paddington Bear. It's exactly what Paddington Bear wears.
Oh, okay.
It's the exact same fucking outfit.
Yeah,
I know who my
yes.
guess is for
There
the
you go.
killer now.
Hey, Saul.
This is in England, close to England.
Paddington Bear. Looking at you.
They obviously ran out of marmalade and somebody got upset.
Well, we'd have to look into other lighthouse incidents and see if there's any connections with similar
Any correlation?
any correlations.
Paddington Bear was in the town.
He's a
Same time.
lighthouse attendant serial killer.
Cracked it. We've
Cracked.
cracked it. Call Scotland Yard.
Okay, so we said two of them are missing, but there's one left on the hook. As
Right.
goes the story.
Right. So one piece of rain gear was left hanging on its peg where it was supposed to be.
Which alludes that 2 people would have left wearing rain gear and one person would have left so hastily that he didn't bother to grab his rain gear in the stormy weather.
Right. Which doesn't, right there, like, well, just by looking at that's enough to be like, yeah, something bad happened here.
Yeah.
So not only do you have this strange, setting of how the lighthouse was left. It was also said that there were logs that were recovered, said to have been written by one of the men. I don't think I said the men, Joseph Moore, Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald MacArthur. Thomas Marshall, who was the second in command at the lighthouse and the hierarchy or the ranking of like the lighthouse keepers, his journal was said to have read something like this. There were a couple of entries that were said to be of note. So you have the first one at December 12th. Gale, north by northwest, sea lashed to fury, stormbound 9 p.m. Never seen such a storm. Everything ship shape. Ducat irritable. 12 p.m. Still raging, wind steady. Stormbound, cannot go out. Ship past sounding foghorn. Could see lights of cabins. Ducat quiet. MacArthur crying. December 13th. Storm continued through night. Wind shifted west by north. Ducat quiet. MacArthur praying. 12 noon. Gray daylight. Me, Ducat, and MacArthur prayed. December 15th. 1 p.m. Storm ended. Sea calm. God is over all.
So the last note did say the storm was over. So someone was still alive.
At 1 p.m. And we know at some point, December 15th in the evening is when one of the first ships reported the light being out. So sometime between 1 p.m. and that evening, the lighthouse never goes back online.
Yeah, and I remember I was reading that the Moore guy, the guy that went to investigate, he found out like when he got there that all the day's chores had already been done.
Oh, so like
right?
stocking the wood for the fire and everything that go along with the daily chores.
Everything, all status quo for that day. Everything was completed, top to bottom.
The other thing that's interesting is that, with the log, there's a lot of people say, and if you look into it, the MacArthur crying freaks people out because MacArthur, by all accounts, was this really tough, hard-nosed guy. So for him to just be sobbing is so out of character. However, if this was us four at the lighthouse and I was in charge of writing logs, I would write shit like that all the time about you guys. I'd be like, yeah, storm's outside. Andrew's wailing like a child. Dan's irritable, like Zell's being a little bitch. I would write that in the logbook all the time. Like you couldn't help, like you couldn't. Yeah,
and you'd be fired. You'd be fired from a lighthouse keeper after they read your log for the first time.
Dude, now maybe, but in 1899, you think they gave a shit?
Dude, lighthouse.
You think that logbook
lighthouse keepers were pretty respected in the sense that if the lighthouse went out and there was a storm, a chance of a ship crashing and killing who knows how many people was high because there was no backup plan. So
I'm telling you, people fucked around in the logbook.
Okay, I'd say they fucked
100%.
around a little bit, but on that special day, they're fucking around. They fucked around and then
man, he's probably going. He's confined with these people for fucking 3 weeks. He's probably going crazy.
Dude,
that's his job,
the best. It's the best dig. It's the best dig ever because say he has to turn that logbook in, and everything in the logbook's perfect. He's logging storms, and then he's supposed to log about how everyone's doing, and he writes that you're crying. You know what I mean? And then he has to turn that in. He's like, MacArthur was crying, and then he'd be like, Zell, it says here you were crying. You're like, I wasn't crying. It's like that sounds like something someone
was crying.
It's in the official logbook, and this is an official document. So on this date, we can confirm that you were crying,
and you are officially a baby.
Our logs indicate that you are indeed a weenie.
But the last log, December 15th, 1 p.m., He still got a couple good jabs on his buddies in, if you go with that theory. But then nothing. No more logs. The light goes out that night, and then the mystery opens up.
Right. So more, upon his investigation, he takes it upon himself, and he gets 3 volunteers from the Hesperus to go ahead and man the lighthouse until they can find new crew from there. But they never find hide nor hair of Marshall, Ducat, and MacArthur. They're all gone. Never found them ever again.
Now, they did a massive search of the island, and they some of the damage on the island from waves was unbelievable. On one of the sides of the island, waves had come up 100 feet and wrecked, destroyed a landing and a bunch of railings and stuff, and thrown all this equipment all over the place. So this storm was wild, whether the wind or the sea coming up, it did some serious damage to the island.
Right. Witnessed damage. The people went there, they seen it. And yeah, there was at 100 feet, the ridge, it looked like they had been washed. You can tell if you're on the ocean coast, you can look at oh yeah, the water comes up that high because you can see the erosion. And it definitely looked like that gigantic waves smashed the west side. But they were still alive enough to write in the log, storm over, everything calm.
Well, and earlier in the log, some people, think that it's one of the leading theories is that a rogue wave came and washed them all away. Now, that would be good, except that they had noted the damage in some of these logs. So it makes it seem like when that big storm is, they had taken account of the island and had taken account of some of this damage before they got here. So I don't think in this scenario that whatever did that damage was still would have washed them away. A big wave came, smashed, they came out, maybe were trying to fix stuff, and they all got washed away. And it still doesn't make sense for the one person running out without gear.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious what happened. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
Ducard, or whatever the hell his name is, got his hands on that fucking journal and read and said, oh, this motherfucker said I'm crying. Okay, cool.
That
smothers
him.
him.
Yeah.
The other guy saw him do it, so he has to smother that guy too. And then he just murder-suicide. Game over.
Throws himself.
And then right before he kills himself, everything's good. God is good. Ducard wasn't crying. And that's it.
Ducat wasn't crying. And then he goes.
Ducat definitely wasn't crying.
Yeah.
He was chopping onions.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird because so you got 2 guys that grabbed their raincoat. One guy didn't. There's a log saying that they've seen the calming of the storm. So it wouldn't make sense for all 3 to get washed away. It would make more sense if 2 went out to see the damage and one guy stayed to man it. And
that you're supposed to always, it's like an armored
rule.
car. One person always has to remain at the lighthouse at all times.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It makes sense that 2 guys would grab their coats, go to check the damage of the crane or the railing or whatever was on the west side of the aisle. Now, I'd have to know how far it was to the crane and how the sound would carry. But what if they got there and they stepped on a ledge that looked solid and one guy fell and the other guy tried to grab him and they're hanging there and they're screaming for help. And the guy from inside comes running out, tries to get them. Too late. He maybe he goes onto the edge too, trying to grab them and pull them back up. The whole thing just caves away. Boom, into the ocean. Gone.
I like that because of the one chair thrown over. It's as if someone was you need to come right now, right? If one of them had opened the door and been get out here now, and he jumps out of a chair, knocks it over on his way out, he's halfway done his mutton.
Yeah, maybe because
right? It makes sense.
You just would have to be able to hear how far down the cliff are they? Would you even scream? Would it even echo back towards the lighthouse? Or
issue with that though is a lot of times when these bodies end up in the sea, they wash ashore, and no bodies were ever recovered of these 3 men.
No.
So some of the other theories. So you have the ones that are based on experience and people who have been there, people who have experienced the raging power of the ocean. But then you have these other theories that people have kind of started to throw around. And one of the theories is aliens.
Aliens
Aliens took them.
All right, just before we get into aliens, let's take a quick beer break. We'll be right back.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
I really don't know where it comes from. Like, I tried to look it up, and the only thing that I could find that's somehow people think it's aliens, it was this old Doctor Who episode.
Where aliens came down and abducted lighthouse workers?
No, it wasn't even like aliens came down. It was like, I guess one of the guys was a reptilian alien or something and ended up murdering these guys. I didn't watch the episode. But it's like, I don't, but that's one of the things that always gets thrown around. All the articles I see written about this is like, they always throw around like aliens is one of the theories. I'm like, is it a theory or was it just in an episode of Doctor Who? And then people took it as that, because that's all I've seen.
Well, I think when people are like looking at this one and the fact that there's no bodies, like one person going, just everything kind of left in seemingly being like okay. It's just odd because it was a nice day too. So I'm like, I don't even know why these guys, like, they said the storm's over, right? So it must have still been just drizzling, I imagine. So they grabbed their oilskins, but like they've just vanished, right? So whether they're lost at sea, people are trying to think of, well, it's not like you know, if it was on land, if this was on land, you could go, 100 other different things, right? Like serial killer, animal attack, Mothman scooped him up, all these different things, but like they're so secluded and isolated that it's like, how would anything get there? And so I think that's why people leaped, like maybe they were abducted, but it still doesn't, like, if two got abducted, why the third? Like, the scene of the lighthouse makes me think that third guy rushed out in a hurry.
Yeah, I got it. Two guys are out trying to fix the railing in the crane, get it shored up. UFO came over top, started beaming them up. They started screaming. The guy came rushing out, and they were like, oh, easy target. Got him too. Bump, clicked them all up. Off they went. If you're going with aliens, that's the... what else could you get?
So you've got aliens. You've got the next one is, I heard, sea monsters.
100-foot sea monster?
Nessie, I guess. It's Scotland. So, I mean...
Isn't that in
Loch Ness
a lake?
Monster?
Isn't that in a lake, though?
Meh.
I guess no. That goes with the same theory as Ogopogo, though, is that there's underground tunnels.
Exactly.
Like underground rivers that attach like Loch Ness and a bunch of other lakes with lake monsters to the sea. So maybe.
Nessie came out there for a little snack.
If there's a Nessie, there's got to be a breeding population. Maybe there's a whole bunch we don't know about. Nessie rode the wave, 100-foot wave, up the cliff, launched herself, plucked the two guys, plop, plop. I can't explain for the third.
What? Then mimicked a human voice.
Lured him out.
Lure the third one out. Everyone knows once Nessie eats you, she can speak in your voice. I think that's a fact.
That's a fact.
When we do the Cryptid Crush-a-thon with Nessie, that will be now canon, and that will be a move used.
Speaking on mimics, the next theory that kind of seems to have some of its roots in the Gaelic culture of the area is that fairies or fae folk had something to do with the disappearance. The Chapel of St. Flannan was said to actually be placed on this island at some point, and that some of the more devout worshippers of that saint would travel to that island, and they would have a certain ritual where they would it was remarked that there was some sort of the original inhabitants of that island had been some sort of magical pygmy race of people, I suppose, and there was some kind of blending of both like the Christian religion and the Gaelic religion, and they had somehow this ritual was meant to kind of appease the spirits of the island, where they would travel around the chapel on their knees praying in a kind of mixed language of both English and Gaelic.
Oh, so there is a religious. There was like some ruins or something on this, right? But it hasn't been inhabited in a long time.
Yeah.
So that theory is then a couple of rogue
Fairies.
disciples came for
Fairies.
Or fairies.
Fairies. Oh, but no, the disciples are worshiping the fairies. Is that what it was? Like people are worshiping these hobbit-like gods.
I think the theory goes that they had been, the Gaelic culture had kind of melded with the Christian culture, and they were like praying to around the chapel of Saint Flannan to try and appease these creatures that used to live on the island. And perhaps they had been gone so long, because the lighthouse was a relatively recent addition to that island. It had only been there for like a year, so maybe
we had murderous fairy
Disturb the ground where these ancient fairies laid prison.
Well, the Fae folk are also compared like sometimes to like extraterrestrials, like from a different dimension or something. Was there any? Well, I bet you there's boulder fields.
I mean, there is boulders. There are rocks.
Probably rocks there. So there's got to be a couple boulder
Was there any
fields.
was there any berry bushes?
Everyone knows when there's boulder fields, people go missing.
What about
It's Bigfoot.
berry bushes, man?
I have to check with the local fauna, but
There's
could
already
be
water. We know that.
You got boulder field, so therefore, you got the connection with missing 411.
This could be a Bigfoot abduction.
And it's just an underground cavern. That cavern just like connects. It goes like he lives in the mountain.
All the way down under the Atlantic, connects to the Mammoth Cave network in the eastern United States.
It's a worldwide cave network.
Okay, what about this one? Oh, what about this? So we have the log saying, Ducat is irritable. You have MacArthur crying. Everyone says that's out of characteristic from him. Let's take that at face value. Let's say this is really odd. This is the northern Atlantic seas. Like they would have seen storms before. So for people to be like, that's how scary this storm was, that it cracked this hardened man. What if something was happening to Ducat, right? He's irritable, and then all of a sudden he's quiet for 3 days. And in that time, you have MacArthur crying. Now he's praying. What if Ducat was possessed or something, and just he's the one that left, right? He just walks out in the night on the 15th, right? And these guys are like, what the fuck is going on with him? They throw in their oilskins, like quickly go out, right? As much as there's protocol of like, yeah, we should stay, they're like, go to help him, and they're trying to get him back, and he maybe kills them,
Pulls him down the cliff
and then
with him or
jumps off
something.
a cliff. Yeah,
Murder suicide.
Right? Because it just seems weird to me. Like, because if everyone's saying that MacArthur is this really hardened individual, and that is a weird thing for him to in a logbook that he's crying. And then you look at Ducat, and I'm like, okay, well, it says he's irritable, then he's quiet, then he's quiet. So maybe something was going on there.
How much of a veteran was he? How long had he been a lighthouse keeper? Did it say?
Those guys had definitely been working for a long time, or they had been part of the national, they have like a national lighthouse board or something. It's the National Lighthouse.
Tough roster to crack.
Yeah, but like these guys were considered at least three of them, I think, were like the best and the brightest, because this was the newest lighthouse. So they had the most experience of the people within their area or that part of the National Lighthouse
I'm just saying,
Association that they belong to.
Maybe this is like a mental illness.
The NLA.
Brought in, like mental illness brought on like some type of, or the seclusion
Or maybe he's possessed.
Maybe the
he's possessed
seclusion
by a
of being
demon.
on the lighthouse for so long.
Do we have any ages? Do we have any ages for them?
Two of them, I think, were in their 20s, and one was in their late 30s, early 40s.
Because I'm saying if someone's in their mid to early 20s, like we know that can be, that's a lot of times when, psychosis and that kind of stuff will take hold is early 20s, right? So if one of them is maybe starting to, have these bipolar episodes, and then if Ducat, say, stuck in this lighthouse, can't go outside and he starts spiraling, right? Like that would be a scary scene for these guys. Like I could see, like, you know, especially if, you know, there's, you know, a lot of religion back then. If MacArthur's like seeing this and thinking, imagine if Ducat is having like delusions of, you know, seeing demons or stuff or talking to voices. Could you imagine how fucking terrifying that would be to be trapped in a fucking lighthouse? And not to mention, like, it'd be different now because you would kind of know. You'd be like, oh, there's something about he's having mental illness. But back then, you would have no idea. If someone just started talking to themselves and were like talking to demons and like thinking they were hearing voices, you would be like, get me the fuck out of this lighthouse. I need the fuck out of here, man. This guy's crazy. Something's wrong with him.
Yeah,
right?
and
that would be room for prayer.
we definitely would have to mention, because like I said before, there is a theory that people like to throw around about mercury poisoning. Because of the lens that they use. I'm pretty sure the same one. I think it was the same thing done at this lighthouse. Actually, I'm not 100% sure, but some lighthouses, like I said, they would float the lens on a track of liquid mercury, and that mercury, you know, being exposed to the high heat of the flame and things like that, it could aerosolize. Sometimes it would coat surfaces within the lighthouse, so you'd have this risk of mercury poisoning. I think there's at least one case, a definite case, where a person had to, at least a lighthouse keeper had to be committed because he had hallucinations, went crazy. I don't think it was very common to have lighthouse keepers go incredibly nuts. Like,
dude, here's the thing. So no, you're spelling it right out for me. We have these guys who are the best of the best, meaning they've been around these lighthouses all the time, right?
Seasoned seamen.
Seasoned
seamen.
Seasoned seamen.
So they've obviously, if this is the newest technology the NLA has, the National Lighthouse Association, then these people are familiar with the mercury, right? So they've been working with it because they would have to be familiar with all the ins and outs of this lighthouse. So maybe these people on this shift, one of them's just hit the boiling point of like too much contact with this mercury, right? Maybe he's like the Teotihuacans, and he's just, you know, dipping his hand in it all the time or some shit, right? Like
maybe he's getting his fix. Get a little stoned off that mercury.
Like, this makes sense to me. Now imagine you're in a place with someone who's having hallucinations.
Hallucinations. Jesus.
I like hallucinations. I like hallucinations though.
Hallucinations.
Hallucinations?
Yeah.
Eesh.
Hallucinations.
Check
It'd be
this man's
terrifying,
temperature.
man. It would be terrifying. You'd be so scared, and you're trapped in this lighthouse, and this guy's going like batshit crazy. Terrifying.
So the one guy goes batshit crazy. So
Dude, he runs out of the lighthouse. No oil skins, and these guys are like, "What do we do? Like, we got to go after him." Or even better, one guy goes after him, right? And the one guy's sitting, waiting in the lighthouse, like concerned. He's like, "Fuck! Like, where are they? What's going on? Like, looking out the door, I don't see anyone. Shit! We should have both gone. Something's wrong with him." All right, I'm getting my old skin on. I'm going out to see what's going on. He goes out, and one's already been pushed off the cliff. Whatever he goes, either way, that's like that would account for all three of them getting out of the lighthouse.
So one guy goes mad. The other two follow because they're worried about him. Ends up taking everyone down with him, or killing two and then tossing himself off.
Jumping off. Yeah,
I mean, it's not like this would have been. You know what I mean? You don't get a little taste of mercury and then go sudden onset, excited delirium, psychosis. You know what I mean? So this would be a slow onset. Pardon me?
Huh?
What did you say?
He says he knows what you mean.
I know what you mean.
Oh, did I say that already? Fuck's sake. I don't care. Whatever. It's okay.
Gives a shit.
So it's not a sudden onset, right? It's gonna be a slow process, and they're going to get irritable with this guy. They're going to be like, this guy's fucking nuts. We've been with him 28 days. He keeps getting worse and worse. If he wants to go outside, fuck him. See ya. Bye.
Yeah. Well, what if he didn't come back? Well, they write it in the log. They're writing everything else in the log.
I'm telling you, the guy who was all fucked up on Mercury is the one that signed it at the end saying, God's good, everything's fucking great.
And just tossed him.
Smiley
Tossed
face.
himself off.
And then he skipped out and then swan died off the cliff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's still no bodies. Bodies
Well,
usually wash
exactly.
ashore.
No,
Which is bizarre.
I read that too. It said the body's never washed ashore, and then I look at the place and the big storms. That body could have fucking, who knows where that thing could have went. If you got knocked in the water and there's a raging storm, you probably got shredded on the rocks for a while, then put underneath, and the riptides would have taken you out, and fucking who knows where that body would have ended up.
This is the 1900s, too. They probably walked around the fucking island for 20 minutes.
No.
Like, yeah, they're fucking gone.
Not
It's
here.
done.
Yeah.
Nah, it's done. This is too much work. I can't figure it out.
We can't risk another one going down. Just leave him.
No.
Whatever.
No. He got taken by the mermaid, surf and turf. Gone.
Yeah.
Got lured in.
Yeah.
Chasing
Best of both
tail.
worlds. Yeah.
So, the fact that they found no bodies, the disappearance is absolutely mysterious. Has just left it open, like this case open for so many interpretations and so many theories to kind of creep in and get into this, to try and retell the story, or to kind of figure out. Everybody loves a mystery, so everybody's trying to figure out what happened. But now, what if I told you that the strange little details that they had, like the half-eaten food, the log entries, all of that stuff
Made
It's
up
made
by
up.
Colin.
What do you mean it's made up?
God damn it, Colin.
Wait. What do you mean it's made up?
all of those things, the log entries,
You made them up?
I didn't make them up.
Colin made them up.
Colin made them up?
You bastard.
Yeah.
So wait, that's not the real account.
The log entries are fake.
Okay.
The first evidence that we have of these log entries that were purported to have been written by Marshall was in 1965 in a print edition of a story was called Invisible Horizons, and it was by author Vincent Gaddis, and he claimed that he had gotten this log text from another written piece from 1929 by an author by the name of Ernest Flannan in True Strange Stories. But nobody was able to actually confirm that.
So we have no indication that the storm was actually over.
Well, to go further on that, Fallon was found to certainly be a fake name. Like the person who actually wrote the original piece that Gaddis said that he got his log entries from.
He wrote it and then claimed he sourced it from himself. That makes more sense.
So
Yeah, that does make more sense actually than him. Because like Fallon's a fake name, so like it makes more sense that Vincent
He wrote
just made it up and said he got it from somewhere else.
right. So the log entries are fake. They're made up. The part about the half-eaten food, that also never happened. That's actually just that was taken from a popular line about a poem that was written about this disappearance.
So
not even that
there was
bizarre.
no food in the bowl?
No, actually, Moore actually reported, like in his report, he found that everything, like Andrew had said, all the chores had been done. Everything had been pretty much wrapped up in the evening. Like from what they can tell, the evidence that he found, all the dishes had been cleaned. It seemed that they had already finished eating dinner and they had already cleaned all of the dishes, and the silverware were remarkably clean. Like they were all
But
done.
Dan, you like explain this to me though, Dan. What stops all the clocks? We're talking about electromagnetic pulse or something paranormal stops the clocks.
Some type of interference.
Well, clocks from the 1900s and some clocks still today, antique clocks today, you have to wind them weekly for them to work. Also, ideally on the same day that you did it every week.
So
It's funny when you
keep
said
relative
that.
time.
As soon as you told me that, like, well, clocks stop when you don't wind them, I went, oh yeah, why did I think they'd have fucking lithium ion batteries in the fucking 1900s? I don't know what I
Timex.
thought. When I first read that, I went, all the clocks stopped?
all together?
That's fucking weird. Whoa. I'm like, no, it makes way more sense. No one's there to fucking wind them. So they just, eventually come to a stop.
Yeah, so that's actually a clue that they got. Like when Mort saw that was the first clue them in that they had been gone for longer than a week. Like the disappearance had happened sometime, 7 to 10 days before they had gotten there, because all the clocks had wound down. Nobody had been winding the clocks,
And the lighthouse has been out for a while. Yeah.
Well, until when they checked until they went and actually found the logs and the reports from other ships coming in during that time. And during that 2 weeks, like in that area, that 14 days, there was actually multiple reports. It was widely reported that there were very serious storms going on, like so much that they couldn't get the relief ship out there. They had to wait. The Hesperus had to wait to get out there because the storms were so bad.
Well, that's what surprises me, though, because like these guys, like you were saying earlier, these are the best of the best. These are fucking, the ILA fucking top flight badasses. They're seasoned seamen. You know what I mean? So what the fuck is so important for them to be going outside during these crazy storms?
The platform.
So the most detailed report that we have is that we get from Robert Muirhead, which is the superintendent overall in charge of the Flannan Light, like the lighthouse itself. When they did their investigation over this thing, like they went over this thing with a fine-tooth comb, that they were going over this. They found that the rails of the Western Trolley Tramway had been severely damaged. A box of mooring ropes. Now, if you don't know what mooring ropes are, like mooring ropes are heavy. They're
Giant
for
rope.
they're for large ships and for boats and
They're
things
for
like
mooring.
that. Yeah, they're for mooring.
Nailed it.
No problem.
And those which had these ropes had been securely anchored 70 feet up on the west cliff face had been washed completely away. And then even further up the cliff, there where there was supposed to be a life buoy about 110 feet above sea level, that had actually been torn off of its moorings.
110 feet?
Yeah, 110 feet above sea level.
And how high was the lighthouse?
The lighthouse is
300.
like,
Well, 100 meters,
Sounds
right?
like
Is that what it
the
was?
perfect storm to me.
There was accounts that in severe weather, waves would splash and get water up to the actual light, the top of the lighthouse.
right. There's at least
Some
one
big
person.
storms, man.
Right. There's at least one person, Walter Aldebert, who was actually the principal keeper on Elian Moor between 1953 and 1957. Like he actually went out there with a camera and he recorded and observed stormy weather. And in his observations, he said that even the lamp house, 300 feet up, can be splashed with spray. Like the waves can get that high.
Jesus. So boom, here you go. Huge storm. If the logs aren't correct, if the storm actually hadn't subsided, they these three lighthouse keepers, maybe they did see a storm of their life, like one of the worst they'd ever noticed as lighthouse keepers. And
100-year storm.
100-year storm, and they went out to check the mooring lines and check the trolley and the crane and stuff to make sure, because that's their lifeline to bring supplies in and out. Got hit by a freak rogue wave, 75, 80-foot wave, then plus the updraft of the water up the cliff, probably knocked at least one or two into the water, and then so what about the wet skins or the seal skins? Is that part true?
I think, yeah, that part is true. And what they think has happened is like you said, they think that more likely it was one of them. Like one of them went down to go check the mooring lines. Two of them actually went, but one went down onto the landing to kind of check the moorings. Cause I think one of them, I can't remember which one it was, but at least one of the men had been fined before because he had some of his equipment wash off.
So
they had another storm.
That's the cardinal sin of a lighthouse keeper, losing your mooring lines or all that shit.
Right. So some of his stuff, he had been fined 5 shillings or something, 3 shillings or something.
It was probably a lot of money back in the day.
Yeah. They're thinking that, they went down there to secure that stuff. Like the storms have been going on during this week, during this 2-week period. And they had gone down there when there had been a break in the storm. And at least one of them went to secure this equipment. And perhaps, like you said, a freak wave came in, knocks one of the guys into the water. The other guy sees this, runs up to go tell one of the other one who's in the lighthouse, like, we need to go out there and get it. So the other guy runs out without his, doesn't take his oilskins.
No time.
Paddington
He's in the
Bear
water.
outfit.
Yeah.
Right.
No time.
So
Guys in the water.
Or he
we
had
gotta
been
go.
sitting in that chair. Perhaps he'd been sitting in that chair, and that's why the chair was turned over, and then he had been sitting in that, and then just bolts out the door.
So now we got all three lighthouse keepers outside of the lighthouse. One guy's in the water, let's say. The two guys grab a rope, try and get him. Another freak wave comes. They all go into the water. There's no coming back. The storm came out of nowhere again. Like there's a like maybe they're in the eye of the storm and it seemed calm, but within 20 minutes, like the waves had come in again, and like after that first freak wave, they just kept on coming.
The
But
sea
we
is
know
a
the
cruel
logbook's
mistress.
fake, so it may have never been calm.
That's what I mean, though. I'm just saying, like, it must have been at least a little bit calm for them to like muster up the courage to like climb down onto the platform that was probably getting pelted by water,
Yeah.
or maybe not. And they're like, we have to get this no matter the risk. And then first guy went down there knowing it was dangerous, and then he got smoked. Insert said story again, same thing, 50 different ways, but they all went down together.
This is such a good mystery on face value.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start scratching the surface, like when you first read this, if you're watching YouTube videos and reading synopsis, you're like, whoa, what?
Yeah, what's
what
going on?
happened? And then if you actually like dig into this one, you go very quickly, So Colin, think twice before you make another suggestion.
Yeah, what's his phone number? Put that shit out there. You fucking blew
I
it,
won't do
Colin.
that,
Thanks,
John.
buddy.
But let this be a warning to you, Colin. Next time you give your buddies my number to fucking bug.
We got ammo
You got ammo, buddy.
and a wave of 1,000 texts.
That's what I think. I go back to a wave, like a really bad storm, wipe them away. On face value, I mean, they've made a show, The Lighthouse, based on this. Like, it's such a cool face value. Like, it writes itself, really. What do you guys think?
Is the lighthouse based on this? I think they mention it in the lighthouse.
I thought it was based on this.
The Vanishing, the movie The Vanishing is based off of this one, I think.
Is that what I meant? The Vanishing.
That's with Gerard Butler, though.
Yes, that one. Yes.
That one?
I'm not sure. I've never seen it.
The lighthouse is Pattinson and Defoe.
Yeah, no. Vanishing with Butler.
Our Pat.
Yeah, okay.
Guy's a dreamboat.
There you
Cedric
go.
Diggory.
All right.
Soon to be Batman.
I'll go with the storm too. It'd be if there was no like physical evidence of a giant storm like getting that high and like washing the mooring ropes away, then the mystery would be more wide open. Like, okay, like what really did happen? If like there's no obvious impact of a giant wave, like you could open up the mystery
think
more. But because there
I think
is,
it's pretty obvious.
well, that's what I'm saying. Because there is, and the ropes were washed away and the railing was damaged and it moved like 1,000-pound boulder. Ocean is fucking powerful. And
But I still think you're missing the obvious thing here.
Paddington Bear.
Boulder.
Nope. Nope. Ghost
Could you imagine
pirates.
that? One guy's like, they're like standing there at the window, and one guy's like, "What are you looking at?" He's like, "You seem quiet," and he's like, "I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's a bear out there wearing a yellow oilskin," and he's like, "Huh?" Starts praying because Paddington's just out there in the storm, just watching them.
What were you saying, Andrew? Paddington Bear with the army of ghost pirates?
Ghost pirates, Flying Dutchman, all three guys in Davy Jones's locker.
Yeah, where do you think Paddington Bear got those oilskins? Ghost
100%.
pirates.
Exactly. Ghost pirates. It's obvious.
home.
I don't understand how you guys all missed it.
Paddington Bear, that's how he keeps his oilskins, is he goes to lighthouse, murdering the inhabitants and stealing
Taking their
oilskins.
marmalade. It's all
makes
for the
sense.
marmalade, baby.
Checks
that
out.
makes the most sense.
I think
All right,
so.
let's Zell, if you got it queued up, why don't we fire up the randomatron? Let's see what it pumps out today.
Let's do it.
Fan story.
Oh, it was printed out a fan story.
Fan story, right on. This is from Luke. This is called Pigman or Dogman. Pigman or
Pigman?
Dogman.
Pigman or Dogman?
Pigman or Dogman?
Pigman.
Pigman or Dogman. He gives a nice backstory of the legend of Pigman. Not going to read the backstory. If you want to know the backstory of Pigman, hashtag
I
look
don't
it
think
up.
I do. Sounds terrifying. I don't think I need to know about that.
Case file 142. Backstory of Pigman.
My story. This is from Luke. Thanks again sending. And Luke was awesome because in the first line of his email, he says, "You can use my name."
Oh yeah.
I was 18. I had just graduated from high school. It was the summer of 2003. It was August, and it was hot. Air conditioning never stops running, and you stick to the seat hot.
Gross.
I was at my girlfriend's house late one night. She lived out in the country. Around 2 a.m., I decided to make my way home. I said my goodbyes, and I got in my Ford F-150. The truck was old and prone to dying. It had 195,000 miles on the odometer, manual windows, manual locks, and a rusted-out hole in the passenger side floorboard. It was a ride fit for an 18-year-old. I drove through the country heading home. The cornfields had not yet been harvested, so the stalks were at their peak. I came to a four-way stop in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by cornfields, when all of a sudden, my truck died. Buddy, you're at a crossroads. There's a crossroads demon.
Crossroads demon. Yep.
Jesus.
Easy.
It's the
Crossroads
devil,
demon.
man.
In the middle of the cornfields at their peak, crossroads demon. I haven't even finished the story. I don't know what happens. Crossroads demon.
Robert Johnson he's fucking sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads. Learn how to play the guitar like a badass.
I tried that.
This is not unusual, and so I reacted as any 18-year-old might react upon being stranded with a dead truck in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. The reaction involved banging on the dashboard and the steering wheel and using some choice words. Listen, this guy, Luke, at 18-year-old, his reaction to my reaction, I'd be crying. In the middle of the crossroads, in the middle of the cornfields, I'm like, oh no, I'm in trouble.
This is how Jeepers Creepers starts. This is how Jeepers Creepers starts.
I'm pretty sure I've gotten that phone call from you before. Tears in your
Yeah,
eyes.
I'm stuck. Come get me. I was committed to getting the truck restarted. I manipulated all three pedals and the stick again and again, confident I would get the truck restarted. At some point, I hit the brake pedal, which illuminated the road behind me, and accidentally at the same time, my peripheral vision had gotten a glimpse of something in the rearview mirror that struck me as alarming.
Oh shit.
Sweet.
Oh, dude. Sweet! I pushed the brake pedal again and looked in the rearview mirror to check my alarm. Sure enough, there was a dark, shadowy figure in the middle of the road. It was absolutely still. It was between 50 and 100 yards behind me. Distances are hard to gauge given the situation, and objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. We all know this. And was on all fours. My initial thought was there was a big dog in the road. I went back to trying to start my truck. Moments later, the truck starting situation had not improved. I decided to check on the big dog. I pushed the brake pedal and looked out the rearview mirror again. The big dog was a little closer. I didn't see it move. It was still motionless in the middle of the road, but it had cut the distance between me and it by about half. It was still dark and shadowy. It was still on all fours. It still looked like a big dog, but big, like bigger than I had ever encountered. At this point, I became afraid. I had a newspaper headline flash through my eyes. 18-year-old slaughtered in countryside, blood everywhere. So I very calmly reached over and rolled up the passenger side window and locked the door, and rolled the driver's side window up and locked the door very calmly.
Good choice.
I set my attention back to starting the truck. Now, the next few moments become a blur. It might have been a few seconds. It may have been a minute. I don't know. But as I recall, 1, my truck began to give signs it was about to start. I noticed the big dog was within 5 yards of the back of my truck. 3, my truck started. 4, the big dog stood up on 2 legs. It stood tall, like one of the biggest men I had ever seen in real life, well over 6 feet. 5, I put my truck in drive. 6, the thing started moving towards the bed of my truck. 7, my tires squealed. 8, the thing shot off the left side of the left side of the road right into the cornfield. And 9, I'm rolling down the road. Needless to say, I was freaked. Nothing like this had ever happened to me. I had never felt dread or mortal danger before. There was no way I was going home to sleep. There was only one thing I could do. I had to go see my friend, George. He and I love ghost stories and tales of cryptids. We would regularly investigate abandoned houses or any other creepy stuff we knew about. I had to see him. George lived in the countryside. Yeah. George lived in the countryside as well. I rolled up close to his house around 2:30 a.m. I turned off the truck, popped it in neutral, and silently parked into the driveway. I walked up to George's garage and climbed up the back of it. I started banging on his window till he woke up. George opened the window and responded as any 18-year-old might respond that had been woken up from a good sleep at 2:30 in the morning. He was cussing me out when I said, "I saw the pigman." George got quiet, evaluated my face, and a moment later, he said, "Meet me at the front door." So I climbed down, walked around the base of the staircase from his room. The door opened, George appearing to carry 2 flashlights and 2 shotguns. He came down the staircase and said, "Let's go." We got in his red Jeep. He had oversized tires, big lights on the top, and navigated to the spot where the strangest had occurred. I had him pull off the road right where I saw the big dog, shoot into the cornfield, and sure enough, the stalks were bent. Something large had entered the cornfield at this spot very recently. The sight was reassuring for my sanity. A moment passed. I looked at George. George looked at me and said, "Let's go." Get the fuck out of here, George. George is
Let's go, baby.
We get out of the Jeep and analyze the corn stalks. A trail of broken, bent corn stalks was easily visible. We entered the cornfield. We followed this trail for some time. I don't know the reality of time. Maybe it was 5 minutes, maybe 15, but at some point, we came to a pause where it was eerily quiet. Then, all of a sudden, we heard something move. It's hard to see anything in there, but there was something southeast of us, which hadn't been moving. Then, all of a sudden, it was moving quickly, breaking corn stalks and moving away from us, rapidly moving west. I looked at George. George looked at me and said, "Let's go." We kept going. Another 5 minutes or so passed. We came to another spot that drew eerie quiet. Then we heard something. It was somewhere between a dog's growl and an elephant's trumpet. It was alarming and terrifying. I froze for an instant. Sweet! Then I heard something move rapidly away from me. I looked at George. George was gone. George was running for the Jeep and had left me to die. After all, you don't have to outrun the thing. You outrun your friend. I began running in the same direction. Nothing chased us. We got to the Jeep. We drove to his house and slept it off. We came back the next morning to investigate further under the light of day. We were unable to follow the thing's trail through the entire cornfield, across a road, and into a soybean field. The trail went cold at an irrigation ditch in the middle of the field. That is my story. Thank you, Luke, for sending the story of the pigman.
As soon as if it were us and like one of you guys were like, "Let's go," I'd be like, "Yeah, go home."
Yeah, 100%. Do you have zero survival instincts whatsoever?
I'm not going into the cornfield. That is where all the bad things happen.
Yeah. Sorry, what's that, Luke? You need me to go to the crossroads at the fully grown cornfields on all sides and investigate what you think to be the pigman at 2:30 in the morning.
And /or dogman.
That's a problem.
My response would be, go home. Don't ever come to my house again.
I'd be like, let's burn this whole place to the ground. It's like, let's set this cornfield on fire.
Now
put
Zell's
a
fucking
picture in my mind, though, of like...
You see Zell?
Of like,
you see that Zell right now? He was fucking just inboxing that fucking guy to find out where that
He's
fucking
like, send
crossroads
me a Google
is.
pin.
I've already sent. I've got the Google pin.
Yeah,
We're
great.
going.
Have fun.
I'm gonna tell you we're going somewhere
imagine-
else, and then we're gonna go there.
I just can't imagine being at night and like being that pitch black, and when you tap your brakes, seeing the lights, and just seeing that figure in your rear view, I'd be like,
You shit your pants.
That's it.
You would
I never
shit
pants,
your
100%.
fucking pants.
We can't let
Your
Zell
pants would be
drive us
full.
anywhere. Zell's gonna be like, "Hey guys, we're going to David Buster's." And takes us to the fucking
David
It's like a haunted house. It's like, God damn it, Zell, this is the 3rd time.
yeah,
Why
He's
is he
already
keep
dead.
believing him?
He's already dead. He's got nothing to be scared of.
yeah. Next
Okay.
time, Dave and Buster's, guys, I promise.
We'll get there eventually. I just love going to creepy places, man.
Creepy guy.
Play some Ouija board, demon board, you name it.
I still can't believe, like, I thought about it the other day that we didn't have a gun with us when we played Ouija board outside.
I don't know why we didn't bring a shotgun or
time.
something.
Yeah. Like, there's
There's
all
legit
demons and
animals
stuff
up there.
aside. There's big animals up there.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting in the pitch black playing Ouija.
I can't fucking believe I went.
It was
I can't
even
believe
worse.
I went to that.
We're in the pitch black with lights on the table, so you can't see outside of the circle of light. It's just pitch black everywhere. There's no definition. Someone could just like sneaked up within like 5 feet of you and just stood there, and you would not have noticed.
No.
Fun times. Fun
Terrifying.
times.
Thank you, Luke, for sending that in. If you got a story, send it to alientheorist@gmail.com and let me know if I can use your name.
Don't forget.
Read it on the air.
All right, let's do a quick. Let's sum it up here. Let's do a theorite of the week. This one's going out to Jay. We're just calling him Jay. We're not going to use his last name because we didn't say he could. He sent us some Bigfoot pictures that he claims that he's seen Bigfoot in the woods. It looks to be around like well after sunset, so it's pretty dark. But hey, as far as Bigfoot pictures go, these ones hold up.
I looked at it and I saw a Bigfoot.
I saw Bigfoot. I see
When
Bigfoot.
you told me you saw a Bigfoot and I looked at it and I was like, that's a Bigfoot.
I'm inclined to believe people. If you say you saw a Bigfoot, I'm never gonna be like, you didn't see a Bigfoot. Never.
If you send me a picture and I look at it and I'm like, that's pretty blurry, but that could very possibly be a Bigfoot.
Oh yeah. So, Jay, you know your last name. Thanks for sending that in. You are the theorite of the week.
Stay out of the woods.
Out of the woods, everybody.
Yeah.
Or at least go in together.
Something's taking people in the woods.
Buddy system. Buddy system.
Buddy system every time. Okay, I'm going to read some new Patreon supporters. Supporting the show for $3 or more. We are very thankful. We read your name one time, sometimes two if you get lucky. So this week we got Ruben Sabalos, Jay Coons. Hey, that's
Hey, that's the. Never mind.
Theorite of the week.
Never mind. You know, so,
Hey, it
It's
is.
double duty.
Is it him? Jay Coons, theorite of the week and Patreon supporter.
I said that was his name.
Ben
Gotcha.
L. Ben L. Joey Carey. Jackie. Gage Benham. James Wells. Leon Cherry. These are all normal names this week. No one's fucking with me. Dan Harris. Jason. I almost read Haywood Jabroni, but it's Haywood Jablomi. Jablomi? You get it?
Oh, I get it.
hey, would you
Took me a
blow
second.
Sharp.
Haywood Jablomi?
Oh,
Nice.
No thanks.
Awesome.
I'm good.
Snuck in a fast one there.
Got him.
Hey-o. I have stupid name. Next. Thank you. Brooke Campbell.
You have a stupid name,
Bryce
Bill.
Crutcher. Sebus. And I believe that is it this week. Thank you very much for supporting the show.
Yeah. And if you haven't noticed, we have ads now. And if you want to defeat those ads, get on our Patreon and destroy them.
Destroy them. Slay the evil ad empire.
Yes. Slay the ads by joining our Patreon and they disappear.
Woo. Magic.
Crazy.
Disappearing ads. Oh, I bet you 100 hours of bonus content and more every week.
At least.
At least. Okay, band of the week. This band is called Cheap Show. Punk band. Song's called Chill Out, Dickwad.
Awesome.
There we go. Keep them coming tonight. Let's play it here at the end. If you want to look them up, you can find them Cheap Show on Spotify or probably any other streaming service you could get on.
Yeah, and as we always say at the end of these things, suck my ass, Colin, and keep those eyes on the skies.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place. The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.